Ezekiel. Ezekiel. Lips, the teeth, the tip of the tongue, the tip of the tongue, the lips, the teeth. Ezekiel. Ezekiel is considered God's actor. Not because he was some Oscar-winning movie star, not because he directed some major movie, not even because he was a Broadway show artist person. No. Ezekiel is considered God's actor because he had to do some really strange street theater.
New York, New York, New York, New York, New York, New York, it's a hell of a town.
You know what? This would be easier if we start from the top.
The book of the prophet Ezekiel. Ezekiel was a priest who had been living in Jerusalem during the first Babylonian attack on the city. And they spared the city, but they took a first wave of Israelite prisoners and hauled them off into exile, and Ezekiel was among them.
So Ezekiel and all those other guys were sent to some refugee camp, and roughly about 5 years later, Ezekiel is sitting beside some irrigation canal on his birthday when he sees a sign from God. This vision was crazy. God himself was sitting on a throne on top of a hovering platform. It was being lifted or flown around by 4 winged creatures, each having 2 faces, with some big old coin medallion thing hovering below each creature. It was so different. Ezekiel said that he was seeing the likeness of the glory of God, meaning he was not seeing a vision of God in the flesh. He was seeing a vision of how majestic and wonderful God really is. So in this vision, God tells Ezekiel that he's going to be a watchman. What does that mean exactly? It means that 1, he's going to have to accuse Israel of all the bad things they've done. And then 2, he's going to have to warn them of their impending doom. Needless to say, it's not an easy job. And this is the part where most other prophets would go get their papers and start writing. They would draft up long sermons, long persuasive essays telling the Israel about their impending doom, about how all heck was going to break loose because of what they did. They would just keep writing and writing and writing and writing.
How do you write like you're running out of time? Write day and night like you're running out of time.
And writing! But not Ezekiel. Ezekiel took to the streets. Alright, so God had Ezekiel perform some really strange street theater. But this street theater was not for your entertainment. This was supposed to make a point. There's actually a modern day artist that does the same thing. So just do it! I get it. It's Shia LaBeouf. Some people love him, some people hate him. I mean, I'll be real. I like him because this is how I knew him as a child.
No, you don't! Oh, no, you don't!
But the stuff he's done nowadays, no matter how bizarre, has always had a point to it. May that be putting a paper bag over his head. May that be screaming in front of a green screen. May that be watching every single movie he's ever done in a row. That's what street theater really is. That's what true art really is. It's putting up a mirror to society. It's more than just entertainment. And in my opinion, Shia LaBeouf does that amazingly. One of the things that Ezekiel had to do was go into town, tie himself up, and lie on his right side for 390 days. That is over a year. And after that, he turned around and spent 40 more days on his other side, eating food that was cooked over cow poop. Disgusting. He did all this to symbolize that he was bearing the sins of all of Israel, both the north and the south. He also had a wail in public to show that Israel's gonna weep in the future. Anytime he ate or drank, he had to tremble with anxiety. Oh! Ezekiel also had to shave off all of his hair, throw it up, and then cut it with a sword. You know, what really stinks is after all this, nobody listened to Ezekiel. Nobody took him seriously. Not because he was doing a bad job, but rather Israel's hearts were hardened. Nobody wanted to hear what he had to say. And that is when Ezekiel decided to take up the pen. Ezekiel wrote short stories and parables about how bad and terrible Israel and the other nations were. But it wasn't without its hope either. Ezekiel also wrote about a time where no longer will the children of God have hardened hearts like the Israelites have right now. Rather, their hearts will be made of flesh. There's also this really cool part where Ezekiel is talking to this valley or meadow of dry human bones. And he's preaching to them, and as he's preaching, the bones start to move. And then they come together, and then muscle comes around the bones, and then skin. And what was once a valley of dry, dead bones is now a valley of very alive human beings. But it was a point to show that this time of Israel being hardened isn't going to last forever. Soon, the children of God are going to be made again, made full. So all in all, the whole point of Ezekiel is that Israel has failed. In their current condition, Israel deserves the judgment that is coming. But there is a time where people will have remorse, that sin won't just be this okay thing that everyone will want to do, where our hearts of stone will be made hearts of flesh, that the word of the Lord will be written on our hearts. And we are those people. We are the vision that Ezekiel saw. We have been redeemed. We have been saved by the grace of Jesus Christ. And so our hearts are made flesh. We, as a people, want to glorify God and share His love with others.